forward.
Hello. Welcome to the Then and Now podcast. I'm your co-host, C. Diesel. And with me today, I have the one and only Professor E, King of the Comics, Ethan Murphy. How you doing, my brother?
Sir, I'm doing good, man. I thought we were going to play the old school for the...
Shit, I forgot about that. Hold on. You gotta play that real quick.
I am the old one. My brain is tapioca. You're the young brain.
For anyone that doesn't know, we really started this podcast. It started on Facebook a while back, and it was just me and Ethan before we had Otis come in. And I made an intro for that. I'm going to run a throwback intro going real quick.
Sure.
Man, nostalgia, man. Nostalgia is crazy.
I forgot that jam, those music, those notes, boy. Those notes you made yourself. I love it.
I think Jeffrey made that music. I'm not sure.
Probably
he makes most of our music, but
he does.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you're with us, we have a lot of stuff to cover today. Ethan, I know you're not a news guy. You don't like covering a lot of news, but we have some big stuff that's been announced that we got to talk about. But before we get into
the first thing, of course, is Otis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So our brother Otis, obviously, for people that are wondering where Otis is, Otis recently had his birthday week. So, again, happy birthday to our boy. Happy late birthday to our boy. He's driving back from his hometown back to his humble abode. So he's not going to be with us today. But we'll keep him here in spirit, and we'll see him next Sunday.
Right. And for those who are wondering how old he is, he's officially 22. He's as old as Dev now. He's good and legal. He can drive and drink at the same time. He won't do it, but he can.
Jesus Christ. But before we get into our big stuff, let's start with something fun, a little lighthearted. Rick and Morty season 6, the first episode. I know I'm not a huge fan of the series, but I'm a pretty good fan. I've watched every episode up until now. I think it's cool. The humor is witty, and this season seems like it's starting off to where it's going to be a little bit more emotional, I guess. It was a really dark episode for me, and it seemed really kind of sad, like they're building towards something versus it being like a comedy and Family Guy style anthology series like it has been up until this point, kind of sort of.
Right. I agree. It did start off bizarrely dark. It started off they made fun of how much instead of just like the beginning of Endgame.
Right. That's just funny.
Tony's waiting to die. Basically, it's like Jesus Christ. Then it even shows a pack of wild Mortys eating, cannibalizing itself, which is obviously symbolic in some way. And it's just it had a bizarrely almost somber tone from the jump, and the premise, it's not as much of a spoiler, but the premise happened last weekend when the episode aired. The premise of the episode is that all of the characters are going to go to their original worlds, original points of origin, essentially. And it's just to show that they're a weird kind of mishmash of people from different parts of the multiverse that have come together. And it shows in all the other verses that they're from how they're all destroyed. They're all different versions of a dystopia. And the worst one is Rick's, where he's literally built a robotic ghost to haunt him, essentially.
Yeah,
to remind him of his wife's death. And it's like, wow, this is some heavy, dark stuff in this episode.
It's crazy, bro. Because I was like, I get the last season came out how long ago? It was like a year or two ago, right?
Probably around a year.
Because I'm guessing the wife is something I just forgot about from a previous season. It's been so long since we had one. But that was depressing. He's like, I'm here to remind you of why you killed your family or why you let your family die and da-da-da. I'm like, damn, Rick, you just want to
and then also the killer of his own family was a Rick from a different multiverse, essentially. I guess the dark, maybe the darkest or a darker version of a Rick that went back and killed his own family. So it's like, this is dark within dark within dark. It's like, Jesus Christ. So and then they show an alpha Jerry, who's literally the last human being alive in the Cronenberg universe, where Beth and Summer and of course Morty have all died, and he's the last one there. And he knowingly pretty much leaves Morty to die too, because the best they can do for you is simply not care about you. I'm doing you a favor. I'm paraphrasing, but it's along those lines of I'm choosing not to care about you, and that's a good thing. It's like, Jesus. Well, this is where we're starting. This is the beginning of the season. It's like, good God.
Side note, real quick, I can hear a little feedback. I can hear myself coming through your side a little bit.
Oh my god, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely. No, you're good. But yeah, getting into that, one thing that I thought was really interesting was that I saw in that same encounter with his dad from that universe, they kind of like grounded the show in a few aspects where he brought up like, hey, because Rick Morty tried to pretty much just pick up where he left off with his dad, like he would in any other universe in any other episode, and his dad was like, dude, you left us here to die. He was like, no, bro, it was cool. I just was, I came back and chilled, and then I bounced. He's like, no, dude, you came here, did not care about us, and just left us to die. I hate you now. And I was like, damn, they're like grounding the show a lot more to me from that, because I don't think we would have seen anything kind of like that in previous seasons that was so like grounded like that.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, and that also in the regard that there's repercussions for their actions. I mean, the fact that the season 6 opens with them still at that I forgot what they call it, but that place where the Council of Ricks all exist and everything. Yeah. They open there and they show that world is destroyed. They didn't just fly away and everything's clean. It shows them actually suffering for a long time in the wake of what they've done. So it feels almost like that's kind of meant to be the entire tone, at least for that episode, was the past actions have consequences, and they're going to have to deal with them this season on some level.
Right, and the show, I'm excited to see where the show goes. If it's building off of what we've seen so far as things being grounded, as far as things having a sense of, I guess, progression emotionally, I'm ready to see where the show goes, because it seems like it's going to get. We've had episodes in the past seasons where things have gotten kind of emotional and kind of dark and like stops in, but it's been mostly lighthearted and jovial. Now it seems like this season is gonna maybe do a little bit of the same thing where we'll have like gaps of jokes and wild antics in between, but it seems like it's gonna get really more focused and darker, especially the way this episode ended with the evil Rick, quote unquote, coming back.
Yeah, the the evil Rick. I like the idea too of an eviler Rick making our quote unquote our Rick seem somehow good or better,
right?
Because they did the same thing by showing Beth, the two different versions of Beth. There's like I think Summer calls her Space Mom Beth, and then the other Beth. So I guess this show is becoming so much more hyper aware of itself that it's getting very meta within meta on what it's doing, which is interesting.
I'm excited to see. But do you have any other like thoughts on this episode? I mean, it's only the first episode, so I don't have too much to say, but it was something nice to start on.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I thought it was apropos that we're doing. There's so many multiverse type of things happening in the Marvel universe, and then also there's something else that's doing multiverse type of stuff too. But it's like there's the idea of a multiverse has gone everywhere. And Rick and Morty, obviously, the multiverses in past seasons, nothing new, but just that it's being highlighted again as far as how it's becoming a kind of the cultural zeitgeist is multiverses.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting kind of scared because we've seen things do it well, like again, everywhere, everything all at once did it pretty well. Rick and Morty does it pretty well, but I'm like, this is just really hard to write, and I don't know if I like the idea of everybody trying to do their own version of a multiverse plot line. It's just it's messy.
That's what it is. It gets messy. Obviously, Roiland and Harmon and their whole writing staff at Rick and Morty, they know what they're doing. People that worked on everything everywhere all at once, they know what they're doing. But writing multiverses, we love Marvel, we love the MCU, right?
Right.
But it's gonna get real hectic over there. So hopefully, fingers crossed that it goes smoothly. But the bigger, wider scope. The bigger and wider the scope gets, the harder it is to contain things. It's one thing if it's for a film, like everything everywhere all at once, versus 2.5 hours, or for one show, like Rick and Morty. But when you have the MCU, where it's multiple shows, multiple movies, multiple directors over multiple years, it's like yikes.
It's tough, man. But yeah, I'm excited to see where the show goes going forward with this season, and hopefully it goes pretty well. Transitioning into the first start of the big announcements, I'm more so a fan of this stuff than you are. Again, the Assassin's Creed universe, they recently have been doing this whole anniversary thing and kind of going back and dropping DLCs and free content for the past games. But they recently just had a big, similar to the D23 Expo, where they announce all the projects and things they have planned going up until 2026, I believe. Yeah. And they have some dope shit. So first and foremost, the big thing that everybody's, that's the most recent thing, is going to be Assassin's Creed Mirage. They announced this along with like 2 to 3 other Assassin's Creed games they have planned out in the future. One is cough cough Assassin's Creed Japan. Otis,
is that true? Is there actually?
Yes.
Okay.
They showed up.
I didn't see the trailer for that. There's no trailer. It's just they announced it.
It's like a snippet trailer. Like it shows. All it shows is like a shinobi landing on like a Japanese style building with a sword and a hit. Yeah, it's like a quick little 2-second video. So it's called Assassin's Creed. Right now, it's just Codename Red is the title for it now.
Yes.
That's dope. That's coming. And funny enough, it's going to come out probably roughly around the same time as Ghost of Tsushima 2. So it's going to be. I'm going to be so torn because I know I'm buying both the games for sure. That's a given. And don't need all the comparisons, but it seems like they're going to make it similar somewhat to Assassin's Creed Valhalla with the RPG elements, but they're going to do what they're doing with Assassin's Creed Mirage now, where they are more so streamlining. Mirage is going to be more so a callback to the original Assassin's Creed trilogy and what made it great as far as the not the trilogy more so, but with Altair up until the Exio stuff, the Exio trilogy, where it's not going to be really RPG based. It's going to be more of a streamlined story, like it's focused on the story. It's going to be following the story of Basim, which you haven't played. You don't know who the fuck that is. But for anyone that's played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the character Basim is coming back to get his own game there. And you kind of get his whole story through. And they're introducing a lot more plots. They're focusing on stealth a lot more. They're pretty much going back to basics. And even like the place the story takes place, Basim is from Baghdad. So you're going to be taking place in ancient Baghdad pretty much when it was culturally booming and such.
Which was awesome. The way they built the setting, the way the actual game looked, it looked very much, it looked like a real world. It looked like a fully realized, fleshed out world. But it did, like you said, going back to basics, it seemed very much like a passing of the torch from, I'm guessing that was Exio in the trailer. The older assassin figure was Exio, and then the younger guy, I guess, that you may be playing is kind of.
No, that's the same. That's the same person. That's both Basim. So the trailer, it's showing him at 2 different points of life. So the younger one's just showing him
training himself.
Yeah. No, he's getting. So picture Aladdin if he's getting trained by the Order. So the hidden one's Order like saw him, I guess, stealing shit. He was a talented thief, street rat, and then they saved him, and then they trained him up to be an assassin, pretty much.
Okay, so it's not. So the training, the one that the assassin that's training him isn't Exio. It's the Order that's training Exio.
I think this is way before Exio. Well, I don't know. I need to know better my history, but I think this point in ancient Baghdad is before the Renaissance, I believe.
Oh, so it's before Exio is even around.
I believe so, but
okay. But yes. it is the Order. That is the actual Order that Exio does work for. It's just before he's part of it.
We shall see, Otis, asshole. We're gonna see. But yeah, pretty much the trailer just cuts back and forth between those two. Continuing on with not only that being announced, they announced Assassin's Creed Hexa, which I think is going to be based during the witch trials, pretty much in I think ancient Rome, or I can't remember. All the history is escaping me at the moment.
You said the witch trials?
Yeah, like it's not the Salem witch trials, but it's going to be a different. Apparently, there are 2 historical sets of witch trials: the Salem witch trials and another one in Europe. Okay. And this is going to be based around that one, so we'll probably have more mystical elements in that one. Because with Mirage is going to be more so grounded; it's not going to be as mystical as the one coming up with that one. But so far, they have announced those 3 games, and apparently they're teaming up with Netflix. This is the big thing I thought you'd be interested in. Netflix is pretty much releasing their own gaming stream platform pretty soon. Yes, and for that, they're teaming up with Ubisoft. They're dropping a mobile game on the Netflix platform that hasn't really been announced yet.
I know they're doing the mobile game, which is like the Division, which I'm a fan of that. So yeah,
they're doing that, and then they're also going forward with the actual Assassin's Creed show, which is still being planned.
Right.
They haven't really talked.
If you've seen the movie, it's like oof, my goof.
I don't know. I have a little bit better faith, at least from me watching all the stuff they have planned and all lined up and the way they explained it. It feels like they understand where they messed up in the past and like they have the idea of what to do better going forward. I assume.
So I hope so. I hope you're right. I do hope you're right. But it's just the track record of any video game. Let's be honest. The last video game adaptation on Netflix was Resident Evil, and Otis and I ironically enjoy it for the humor of it. but that show got canceled like a week after it launched. It is objectively maligned. So they've got to. I hope for the best, but I fear the worst.
I didn't watch Uncharted yet. I need to watch that. I'm kind of curious.
And the Uncharted movie is still, the last 20 minutes at least, are entertaining. It's not offensively bad, but it's still like, yeah.
Right. Continuing on, because that's not it. They announced a lot of other shit on top of that too, along with the mobile game. They're also they're doing this thing called Ubisoft. I think Assassin's Creed Infinity is what it's called. And from what I understand of it, it's pretty much going to be like in that universe, you'll have like a central Animus hub that'll have multiple different games on that timeline. It's weird. I don't know exactly how it'll look, but you don't. Me saying this to you won't quite understand because you haven't played any of the games. But for people that have played through the games, in the universe, they pretty much the Animus is the thing that people use to travel back in time to their own genetics to visit their ancestors.
Right.
In that universe, in the game, they pretty much commercialized it and made it almost like a gaming console. Like imagine if you could put a drop of blood, pretty much, but it's like you're exploring your own genetic ancestry through like your PlayStation or something like that. So I feel like that's what that'll kind of be. And they have again Codename Red, Hexa, and Mirage. I think Mirage will be a part of that as well. And then they're also working on making multiplayer thing coming back. They said multiple multiplayer experiences. So they're gonna have either multiple games, or they're going to focus to kind of make it like Division, I guess, is what I'm expecting from this, which is what I wanted. I wanted to do what they did with Assassin's Creed Unity and kind of expand on that.
That's the one, Unity, right? That's when they're bridging with the brother. Yeah.
So they had,
I'm curious because you're obviously a hardcore fan of this series. Do you think, and I know that they're plagued with some bugs earlier with Unity and everything else, but do you think this is a very ambitious thing? Do you think Ubisoft will be able to pull this off pretty well?
Yes. So I look at Ubisoft kind of the same way I look at BioWare, where they've both developed some of the best games of all time, but they fell short through either it was them being money hungry for a short period of time, or they're just not understanding what fans wanted out of those IPs.
True.
And I think people have recency bias when it comes to those companies. Because again, if they give you some of the greatest games of all time, it's not outside of their ability, I feel, to kind of bounce back and at least give you something competent after they know everything they did wrong from movies to games to everything else.
Well, Ubisoft isn't on a downward slump at all. With Valhalla did really well, Origins, and then the one where they're in ancient Greece, like those, the Odyssey. I think all of those did well, sold well, were well received. So they're not on a downward slump at all. I was thinking about when you get into multiplayer type of things, it can be complicated. That's all.
Those games did pretty good, but as a company, they were going through all kinds of lawsuits. There's like a lot of internal stuff going on.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they were struggling recently with all the controversy going on with that, and then they're starting to make a bounce back with that one.
That's right. They did.
Assassin's Creed Division. So what I'm imagining from their multiplayer experiences that they're picturing or that they described, I'm guessing it'll be kind of like if anyone played Assassin's Creed Brotherhood up until I think 3, they had a kind of a PvP element to where you would kind of hunt each other down as assassins, as well as like a capture the flag type. They had a bunch of different modes within that. And then they also have the co-op stuff in Unity, which was good, but because Unity had a million bugs and glitches, it didn't pan out right. So I think I don't think they need multiple experiences. I think if they make one online game that has the same concept as the Unity one, but then add in all those other game modes, I think that could be an amazing game. Like I would have said, he'd buy it immediately if you have a thing where us three are assassinating targets together, and then we can go run PvP and kill some other people. You know what I mean? It could be something dope that I feel like they could do. But
I jump on that. Yeah.
But Ubisoft, they're doing some ambitious stuff. Again, they have the timeline planned out from now up until 2026, and the first thing that's coming is Assassin's Creed Mirage, which I'll be picking up. I gotta finish. I gotta finish Valhalla.
I think we would, because I mean, you and I and Otis and our buddy Stan back in the day, we played Division a lot together as a squad and stuff, and they actually handled really, really well. But they made all the updates and everything else too. So I actually do want this to be good. And if it is good, I go ahead and grab a copy of it, tomorrow, so it comes out.
Yeah.
And,
well, the multiplayer thing won't be till like 2026.
Oh gosh, 2020. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is it's ambitious. That's what I'm saying. They're working. That's in the distant future. They got to narrow that stuff down. But the stuff coming up before then, it'll be Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is based on Boston, which is to be the single player experience. I'm looking forward to. I got to finish Valhalla to see how his story works within the universe, but that's coming. I think then after that, Project Codename Red, which is the Japanese one, is coming out after that. Then Hexa, which is the witch one, and then
I might get that one. I might get that. If you're like a Witcher or something in that one, I get that. ASAP.
Yeah, because they've done mythical stuff in the past, and they're kind of bounced in and out of like ancient mythical stories and stuff like that in different games. But that one I feel like is going to be even more so because it's going to be based on witch stuff that I would imagine. And then after that is they haven't really announced exactly what years. The other stuff is 20 like beyond up until 2026. After that, they have a timeline they put out with that stuff.
Right on.
But if they land this, I think this could be they could have a really big bounce back within not only the gaming industry in general, but just good stuff because you have mobile games, big games, a whole Netflix show coming. I'm like, if you hit on all these things, you can be back in the limelight like that, and then you can probably work on stuff like that going forward.
I agree, man. If they manage to have a multi-prong attack where they have the mobile games, the actual platform games, and they actually have a series on Netflix, and all of them are good, and they're staying on track for all these things, it's like they could become the dominant powerhouse and almost entertainment in some capacity. So pretty soon. So that's more power to it.
Exactly, man. It's dope. But moving on from that to the next.
Wait, real quick, isn't Skull and Bones Ubisoft too?
Skull and Bones. Was that mobile game?
No. Skull and Bones is that game. Otis, you're there somewhere. Chime in. I'm gonna look it up. Skull and Bones. When the person was presenting that, she had a French accent, a French Canadian accent. So and although Ubisoft is in,
they have a bunch of different. Montreal. They have like a bunch of different. They have Montreal.
I'll look it up. We can move on. But I'll look it up. I think if that's the case, they actually have like a bunch of stuff coming out.
Right. Moving up next, we're finally getting to the Disney 23 Expo. They announced a lot of stuff, so we got to get through this. We'll save the big Marvel stuff for the end because I know that's what everybody's here for. So if you're here, you want to talk about that stuff. Also, I think we'll probably after we get through the Star Wars topic, I'll be dropping the link to the StreamYard in the comments of the chat below. So if you guys want to come up, give us your thoughts on what we've talked about so far and what you hope to expect. We'd love to bring you guys up for temporarily, and then just kind of keep the conversation going. Things that Otis, I just want Assassin's Creed Pharaoh. Did you not? You notice Origins is right? Yeah, Assassin's Creed Origins is based in ancient Egypt about like the origins of the creed, like the first black assassins there. Otis.
Yes. Also, real quick, Skull and Bones is an Ubisoft game.
Interesting.
And Skull and Bones is also projected to be like one of the biggest games coming out. So if they have that,
is that that shooter game that they were working on?
No, Skull and Bones is the one where I'll show you a trailer for it later. But it's basically you get to have Assassin's Creed 3 where you're on the is that 3 or 4 where you're on the pirate ship?
4, the Black Flag. 4.
It's basically like a super version of that where you start off as a very like a peasant pirate more or less, or a peasant that boards a pirate ship, and you get to helm your own pirate ship and sail the 7 seas forever, doing all kind of thing. But it looks amazing, but it also is by Ubisoft. So if they have really big games, and it's meant to be it's supposed to be like a really big game coming out. If they do a really good job with that game too, Ubisoft really would have like a major foothold on the gaming industry for a while.
I just need BioWare to figure this shit out. Well, I know they're like working on the next Mass Effect game, which I hope that's good. But I love seeing companies bounce back, and hopefully they can make some dope content because the gaming market is not competitive right now.
Fair.
Not black enough. They're literally in ancient Egypt. How much black can you get? You're in Africa, like with the Pharaoh. Like you murdered the Pharaoh in that game.
Speaking of it, Otis, tell me you've seen this week's episode of Primal. Please tell me you've seen it.
I didn't catch up on that show, man.
Anyways, getting back on topic.
Getting into the expo, we'll start with the Star Wars stuff. Just because me and Star Wars, you already know how it goes. My boy, you already know how it is. I'll start with the 2 things I'm excited for the most. First and foremost, I would call her my favorite Star Wars character, but I heard Mace kind of bounce back and forth and stuff. But the Ahsoka show, first and foremost, I'm excited to have that. I'm excited to see where that comes. I have the list of stuff that's announced right here. But yeah, the Ahsoka show is coming. I'm excited for that. Tales of the Jedi. This is going to be my shit. I've been waiting for more Clone Wars content, and it seems like this is just going to be a Clone Wars anthology series, kind of giving you the origins of stuff.
Yes.
So you get. I think I've talked to you and Otis about like the lore of certain characters extensively, but now you get to see the backstory of one being Count Dooku and like how OP he was. Because I think literally at that point in the Jedi Order, he was seen as the best saber duelist to ever live up until that point. So you get to kind of see him and see how broken he is compared to other people. And this is him young.
Well, what's fun about that too is how you notice that the only version they released of that trailer has subtitles or captions. They want you to see the characters' names that are talking because you may not know otherwise. So when Dooku's there, you see Dooku. It says Dooku talking, and also it says for Qui-Gon. It says Qui-Gon. So people want you to know that. Oh yeah, this is young Dooku and young Qui-Gon, which is awesome.
All right, I'm excited, man. This is gonna be sick for me. Especially seeing like they're showing Ahsoka at different points, like her being trained by Anakin, and it seemed like Anakin was a little wild when he was training her. Apparently, we're gonna get introduced to another Inquisitor, and this one seemed again so far to me, this design of this Inquisitor seems like the most badass design ever. Like with the mask up until this point, he seems badass.
You know him? Do you recognize him?
I do not. Maybe he's a callback or an original. He seems like he's an original character. I don't know who the hell that is.
I wasn't. You know the lore a lot better than I do. I wasn't sure if that lore, if he existed already in Star Wars lore, and they just brought him to the, because it's Genndy Tartakovsky and Dave Filoni and all them, so they know their Star Wars lore like crazy. So I thought they may pull somebody.
Probably should. They've created a lot of the Star Wars lore. I'm gonna look. I know Otis asked if they released a release date for that. I'm looking.
They did not.
I don't think they have. I don't even know if they've released a year for it yet. That's in the distant future, I think.
They did. I don't think it's this year because they have so many other shows coming out this year. Because Willow is this year, and Willow's November.
Yeah. Speaking of that, do you know what that is at all? Is this like just an original fantasy thing for them?
A Willow.
I don't know what Willow
is. Again, I am the then of the then and now. Willow, Otis might know it too, but back in the 80s, after Return of the Jedi and after Howard the Duck, George Lucas produced an original story directed by Ron Howard called Willow. Willow is a great movie. I think I was trying to get you to watch it forever ago, but it's a movie where basically it's kind of like Lord of the Rings meets The Hobbit, where the Hobbit is the star of the story, and it's Val Kilmer, in one of his most iconic roles, plays like essentially a more roguish version of Aragorn, and they go on this quest and mission together. And that's why the trailer looks a lot like Lord of the Rings, because the original movie kind of was like a Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings type of thing back in the day.
So if you are a fan of different verse altogether, is this like different? Is this in the same verse as Star Wars, or is it
no?
Okay,
Completely different universe. But it was made by George Lucas when he made is in the original Star Wars era, so it felt like that. But it's a really good. I enjoyed it. It's a fan fave. It's not nearly as big as some of the other things, of course, other properties out there. But it's a really, really well made one from the mid '80s. So if you get a chance, it's definitely worth watching. It's on Disney Plus right now. So
check it out. I guess George Lucas has made some more dope shit than Star Wars. Apparently, I was not aware of that. As well, since we're off the topic of Star Wars for the second, they're doing another Indiana Jones sequel. And I'm kind of excited. This is kind of a low key thing. I watched all the other Indiana Jones movies on VHS during the summer when I would go to Illinois to visit some family there. And I oddly enjoyed them. I don't know if it was the music or just Harrison Ford's charm or charisma that really got me, but I really enjoyed those movies. So I believe this one's going to be kind of a passing of the torch movie. I watched the clip of the expo where they brought him up and this other woman actress that I do
Phoebe
not.
Waller-Bridge.
I can't remember her. You know what? Is that her name? You said?
Yeah, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Yeah.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I don't know if they've released anything regarding to the plot of the movie, but I'm assuming that she's going to take. Maybe she's his daughter or granddaughter, or maybe not even related to him at all.
I don't know. The writer. She may be in the movie, but she's a.
Oh, okay.
She kind of wrote part of Solo, but not much. But she wrote part of the newest James Bond movie, and she also wrote Fleabag. Did you ever watch Fleabag on Amazon? You ever heard of it? Okay, but she's a well-known writer. She's a really good writer.
Oh, wow, I'm often. I thought she was an actor or actress.
She does act too. She does act. You're not all. She does act too, but she's a really well-known writer. Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know if they're going to try to. I hope this is like, if it's not a passing of the torch movie, I hope it's a closing story because I don't want them to try to milk Harrison Ford while he's still here and plan like a whole 15 movie plot line with Indiana Jones. I'm like,
no,
he's a little old for it. Plus, he
was a lot old in the last one, which was what 20 years ago. The thing about it is, man, is like he loves he said it before. His favorite character to play is basically Indiana Jones, but he's too old to play him. So Indiana Jones 4 with Shia LaBeouf was supposed to be passing the torch in some way to him. That was his son. Spoiler alert, I guess. But that didn't happen at all. And so I don't know what's happening in part 5. But like you said, they showed him up there on the stage getting. This is Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford doesn't even have tear ducts anymore. And that dude's getting the eyes. I don't know what. What he said was he pointed over to Phoebe Bridge. He goes, the reason why this works so well, and he pointed over to Phoebe Bridge. Now you could be right though. It could be that she's in the movie as his daughter, which makes no sense, or whatever else. I think he's alluding to the idea that she was a writer on the movie, and she had to capture things better than the previous writers or whatnot. So no offense to Lawrence Kasdan and them who wrote it, but I think that's what it is. He thinks that because I'm guessing they finished filming it, and they finished filming it. So I think he was satisfied with the script and the way the movie turned out because of her influence on it. But we'll see. I agree with you though that his if his tear ducts are gone, his milk udders are completely dry. This man cannot be jumping around in the hot sun with a hat on. Fedora won't save him no more. I love Indiana Jones. The way you feel about the Assassin's Creed franchise is how I feel about Indiana Jones. Basically, like I grew up watching it. My 3 favorite films of all time are Shawshank, Big Trouble in Little China, and it's a tie between Indiana Jones, Last Crusade, and Beverly Hills Cop. So I watched. These are the movies that made me want to be a writer and got me into storytelling so much. I've watched Indiana Jones extensively multiple times. So I geek out over like crazy. So yeah, hopefully it will be good.
Hopefully. I'm guessing I'm hoping for like a Logan type deal where it's just like he's going through it. Maybe he doesn't have to die per se, but kind of just end the story in a good way and just wrap up.
Can you imagine? He was crying his eyes out. You saw it, Dev. You saw it.
That's what I'm saying. He was happy. I'm like, he seems genuinely happy.
Yeah, but it was still tears though. It was real. Those were real ass tears, man. Those weren't cat. No, those were real tears. Those are man tears. I wouldn't be surprised if he does actually die.
Alpha.
Yeah.
On top of that, obviously these are just smaller things. Again, another season of Bad Batch has come in. That was cool to me. I watched the first season of that. Andor, this is the thing with Andor. They're being very ambitious with this.
Yes.
Because they've already greenlighted 2 seasons of this thing already. A 24 episode series, pretty much. 24. It's gonna be 24 episodes I think it's gonna be 12 each for the seasons. And then the second season is based directly off like the first one is the cliffhanger rolling into the second one. So I'm like, you guys have a lot of confidence in this series that Clearly. People aren't just going to not like the first season that you're going to roll directly into the second one. Because I think it's based on Caspian, if I remember right.
Yeah,
one of the pilots. I thought he was a cool character, but nothing crazy enough to warrant his own solo series, let alone 2-season solo series that are 12 episodes apiece.
So I feel you. I definitely feel you. I mean, his role in Rogue One wasn't overwhelming, but obviously he got mutilated and bastardized when he was originally written as. But the thing about it is, Deb, is that this essentially what this series is like the direct lead up to Star Wars, the actual war. This is how the war starts. So it's almost like they're telling an actual, I guess essentially there's a lot of content to actually get into how a war starts. And it's not just Caspian. It's actually the whole, like, all the powers and machinations that be. It's almost, this is Disney Plus this is Disney Plus's version of like a Game of Thrones in a sense, where it's all the machinations behind things and all the politics and all the kind of, with, of course, intergalactic warfare from time to time, but it's much more about the actual detail of machinations. And they clearly spent some money on this. It looks really good.
Right.
So I'm not surprised that they're trying to do everything they can to push this series. I'm not surprised about that.
I'd like it if we get a lot more Vader.
Yeah, because he's alive. He is alive during this period.
Yeah, because I'm just like, what is going to be the draw? They got to have something to like. With Obi-Wan, they knew outside of Obi-Wan being a fan favorite character, they knew Vader would draw people in to come see this thing. I'm like, what do you think is going to draw an audience in to come see this thing? Because all you're doing is building up to the storyline that everybody's already fatigued of, which is the Skywalker stuff.
Right.
I'm already kind of dead of that, and plus all the interesting stuff in between. Maybe they show some Ahsoka stuff. Maybe she has a possibility of popping up in there. Maybe you bring in some characters like Admiral Thrawn, maybe makes an appearance. There are some characters that could pop in and out, but I don't know what you could do to make that again. Maybe it's just good like Game of Thrones, where it's a really good drama and really well written, which I'm not opposed to. I love Star Wars content, but I think
that's probably what it is. They're trying to get away from because of what happened. The problem with the last trilogy in Star Wars was it tried to lean too heavily on the legacy characters, and it fell apart because of that. I mean, bringing the Emperor Palpatine in the 9th movie, 25th hour, it's like, what are we doing, guys? So, and then Lando, like, why is Lando just randomly here in the desert getting high? So they may be like, yo, let's just actually build up a more interesting universe aside from all the legacy stuff and see if that works. They may have other surprises planned. Sure. I mean, Forrest Whitaker, what's his name? The character Forrest Whitaker plays. He's in the Clone Wars.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name now, but I know you're talking about.
Is it Saul Guerrero?
Yeah, that's what it is. Saul Guerrero.
So that guy's in there too. But so I imagine they probably will have some characters from the Clone Wars series and whatnot that make appearances. But I think the biggest draw for this is, in fact, the actual storyline or the plot or the actual way it's shot, that kind of thing, not so much the actual legacy characters. They probably will have a cameo or two from Vader. He is around, but again, Vader is such a absolute. When he shows up, there's something. I mean, you saw what he did in Rogue One. When he's there, everything's gone. If he shows up in this, like anyone around him's dead. So it's
right. Yeah, I think they're gonna focus really heavily and rely on the Clone Wars stuff, like you said, the characters. Just again, this is my bold statement. I think it's some of the best animated, probably like for me, one of the best, if not top 10, maybe top 3 animated series to ever exist in regards of quality of writing, character development, things that are going on, the way they reinvented some characters in. Yeah. And they have so many original characters that Filoni and Favreau created within that series that they can draw on. And it seems like they're doing that. They're throwing them in random series here and there. Like they're bringing back Cad Bane. They're just throwing characters randomly. I could for sure see them maybe doing something with Maul at some point because they teased Darth Maul in the Han Solo movie.
Right, I think he is yes.
Yes, he's around.
Solo takes place also before the war and everything too. So Darth Maul's around still. He's still alive.
Yeah, and Maul doesn't die completely until Obi-Wan's old on Tatooine. Yeah, so he's around for like
episode 4 possibly is when Maul dies.
Yeah, probably like right before New Hope or like
between episode 3 and 4 when he dies. Yeah, so I think it's like Luke is born, but he's not able to fight.
Maul shows up. He threatens him and everything else. But yeah, so I'm hoping we get that and get those characters coming back in. But we'll see how that goes. As far as other Star Wars, I think that's all. The Skeleton Crew, which I don't know if they give any more details on what that's going to be yet.
Is that the one they were talking about with Bill Burr and Gina Carano? No, that's not that one.
No, maybe, possibly. I don't know any details on the Skeleton Crew. I assumed it was going to be like another clone type. You dig?
I don't know for certain. I should know better. I don't.
But yeah, between that and then the new Mando season that they gave a trailer for, which we both talked about. We thought it was interesting. I watched it like right before the podcast started, guys. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how that goes. There's nothing in the trailer that's like jumped out at me as being like to get super hyped for outside of another Mando season. But that's about it for me. I'm excited just to see what happens.
I mean, the thing that got me hyped is, I'll be honest with you, was seeing Apollo Creed, aka Carl Weathers' beard. He had that full man beard. It was like stark, boy. He said silverback. Yeah, look at that. But it was cool just to see. There's two things that were real quick, but just the idea that they are fully hunted down. Like she says, you're pretty much enemy number 1 by the entire Mandalorian, pathos. They're all coming for your ass. They all, and it shows them
all the factions.
Yeah, it's like wow, that's. They turn it like you because you took your helmet off to survive. We're all gonna come after you to kill you dead and where you stand. Like, Jesus. And then the other thing was, I told you while watching the trailer together how Katie Sackhoff says, your dad. Did you think that your dad was the only Mandalorian? So they're officially referring to Grogu or to the Mando as Grogu's
father.
Dad.
Yeah,
which was cool. I thought.
The two things. Well, again, I'm excited. What was her name? She's Empress Satil's sister. I can't remember her Katie Sackhoff's character's name off the top of my head. Yeah. Again, another Clone Wars character. One character that you may not know who she is, but I'm hoping we get her is Sabine from Star
Right,
Wars.
so they showed Ezra Miller's character.
Did they?
Yeah. Now Ezra Miller is because obviously this is years after what was it called? This Rebels, after the show Rebels. So he looks like he's 25, 26 years old. Of course, he's a gorgeous man.
Wait, is Miller his last name?
I don't know. You can look up if you go to
Ezra Miller, because isn't that that's the name of the actor, right? Ezra Miller.
No, Ezra Bridger. I'm sorry, Ezra Bridger.
Ezra Bridger. Ooh, I was like,
and Ezra. Jesus God, shoot me in the face. No, Ezra Bridger, and they cast Ezra Bridger. So if he's around, I don't know definitively if he's in. Maybe he's in both. Maybe he's in Andor. Maybe he's in Ahsoka's show. Maybe he's in Mandalorian. Wherever show he's actually in, it's probably Ahsoka's show. But they cast him officially. If they cast him, it stands to reason that Sabine would show up too.
Yeah, for
they're both still alive.
Again, her being like Mando royalty and her like wielding the darksaber or something in the show too. I expect to see her with Ezra. If they got to explain, because the way that Rebels ended, like he was in the space whale and was like got teleported away with Thrawn. So I'm like, now you gotta like, are you going to continue from Rebels with this show, which I love? And how is that going to work? I don't know.
Well, because you see, if it isn't so we're getting so weird and meta with this, but the thing about it is, because Ahsoka obviously is in Rebels too, and so they've aged based off of how old she is in the Rebels to how old she is probably in the Ahsoka show starts, because that's the same age. She's the same age in Mandalorian's show as she will be in her own show. I imagine it's like and based off of how you see the actor that's playing Ezra Bridger, he's like in his mid-20s. So roughly about at least a decade plus has passed since the end of Rebels.
Yeah, because Rebels, they were like 16, 15, maybe 17,
maybe
possibly
16 pushing it, maybe 16, maybe.
Yeah.
16. So it's about a decade's past at least. If a decade, there's enough time for him to have survived that, gone through that ordeal, and I'm sure he'll pretty much reveal how he survived it and everything that happened with it. But he's definitely it's over. That's in his past. That's done with.
Which makes me excited because we have a Jedi post Skywalker trilogy that we can like focus on. It isn't revolve around them. Again, him and Ahsoka, things of that nature. Right. But yes, the IP has aged pretty well, and it's been aging like fine wine to me. Just like you talked about glorious beards earlier, and beards that have aged well. So I'm like, let's get on my man Sam Jackson, man. Let's get with the Marvel stuff. Let's get with the Marvel stuff.
The Segway King is back. The Marvel stuff. Change your name from C Diesel to C Segway.
Hey, C Segway. Hey, that sounds kind of hard though. Hold on. Wait a minute. I may have to. I'm working on it. I gotta earn that name though.
Fair.
Once we get sponsors, I'm gonna be going crazy.
Yes,
Marvel stuff. Marvel has announced a plethora of stuff, one of which was false. I was kind of sad about. I saw a picture on Facebook that pretty much featured the casting of the Fantastic Four, that being Krasinski. I can't remember who was the Invisible Woman. Emily Blunt. No, it wasn't Emily Blunt. It was somebody different. At least in this clickbait thing. This clickbait thing wasn't real. And like Seth Rogen confirmed as a thing. And John Boyega is like Johnny Storm. But this is a fake thing. I would have loved that lineup, but this is a fake thing.
I don't know if John Boyega's doing so much stuff talking about Cyclops and everything these days. I wonder what he would do as a Johnny Storm.
Is he playing Cyclops?
Oh, you didn't see that?
No, is that confirmed? What the hell?
But John Boyega was throwing heat talking about a black Cyclops, because obviously they're going to reintroduce the mutants into the world of Marvel, and how he was talking about how if they did a black Cyclops, I don't know if he was even throwing his hat in the ring, but it's talking about how badass it would be. I think his exact words were like he would he said he would faint if they did or something, but he was addressing a black Cyclops.
Don't do that. I don't want to have to hate you, because I'm gonna have to hate him. I love John Boyega, man.
Yeah, it's I'll look at it.
I'm gonna have to hate him because he's Cyclops.
John Boyega said about Cyclops.
We just got rid of Cap's bitch ass. Now we got to bring Cyclops in.
This world is crazy. This is your world, man. This is your world, Segway.
Oh man, Segway is crazy. It's nasty as hell. That's nasty. Some other stuff that was announced. I mean, they brought the cast of Black Panther up. I don't think anything really much new was announced with that. They kind of just discussed it. Ironheart is a series that's been confirmed as well already. They kind of just been showing off the logos. Again, the big things that have been confirmed that wasn't already like teased or confirmed previously was that a Werewolf by Night. They officially dropped the trailer for that. The interesting thing about that to me is that it's going to be completely black and white. Of the series, going to be like an homage to like old school horror movies, which I'm excited for.
Do you know the context and stuff about that? I didn't know much about that.
So essentially, Werewolf by Night Moon Knight originally appeared in a Werewolf by Night story. Like that's when he was introduced into the character.
Yeah.
Essentially, Werewolf by Night, from my understanding, he's just like a werewolf. Like he was just back in the day when Marvel was doing horror stuff. He was like one of their central horror stuff with him, Dracula, stuff like that. Which Blade was introduced in the Dracula stories as well. So it's going to be kind of a similar thing. So I'd expect for Moon Knight to make an appearance in this show at some point, or maybe be a major part of it. Because originally Moon Knight made an appearance in Werewolf by Night. He was trying to kill the Werewolf by Night. I think his name is Jack Russell, which is hilarious because he's named after a dog. That was like some of the laziest writing back in the day, I swear.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad you knew that. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't. Because initially, when I first heard about it was coming, I'm like, nothing seems really interesting to kind of draw me in. I thought of maybe Moon Knight making an appearance, but after getting details on the style of the show, of it being like a really old school, like Bride of Frankenstein, color, like black and white type horror film, I'm like, I want to see this. It's going to kind of give me like WandaVision vibes is what I'm kind of hoping for, where that is that darkness, but also filmed in that black and white style. I think it has the possibility to be really well done.
Mm-hmm. It looked like if I didn't know this was part of Disney, and Disney, even at the end when it said D23 Disney Plus, I was like, what? It almost looked like Sin City. It looked like this is even though it's black and white, they're going hard with a bit of the R, pushing the R rating and stuff like that. So it's like it surprised me that it was a Disney show. I was like, okay, all right, fair enough. Good on you.
With that, and like with them bringing Deadpool on Disney Plus now and having rated R stuff on there, I'm like, this means we have possibilities now. With these possibilities, we can do some dope shit. And I think this will be like one horror. Anytime Disney does horror themed stuff, I'm down for it. Because again, most people weren't the biggest fan of the Multiverse of Madness, but I love the horror aspects. I love Raimi stuff. So I thought that was well done. So I'd love to get more horror themed aspect stuff within the MCU.
Yes. Speaking of horror, that's a horrible segue. I'm not king of segues like you are. I did find the actual piece of footage from. I'm gonna put it right here in the show, so we can put it. You can pop it up there when you get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna put it right here of John or Mr. Boyega to his friends.
Oh god. Okay. Let me go ahead. I'm gonna drop the link for the StreamYard in the chat for anybody that wants to come up on the show briefly and give their thoughts or have any questions for us in the Q&A section. You're more than welcome to.
Word. Okay.
Let me go ahead and see you already have it in the chat, right?
I have the John Boyega up. Yeah, if you want to. So it's this.
1 second. Let me drop that link in there, and I'll pin it so people can see at the top. But go ahead. Yeah.
So what John Boyega said was, if we get it based off of this is a post that he made. That's Twitter, right? If we get a black Cyclops, no here and now, I will be insufferable. I will never shut up. I'll be tap dancing all up and down your last nerves. You will want me put on mute, I promise. So I am not entirely sure if he's for it or against it or both or neither or what, but he made a comment about it.
He's campaigning really hard for it, which I'm not against. I'm not against people like get a job, my boy, get a bag. He's trying to get that MCU bag because once you get an MCU, you making bank for the foreseeable future of cons and anything else going forward.
He of course was Star Wars. He was Star Wars bank. So he's not suffering. He's not hurting in any ways. He's in Woman King coming up in a minute too. So.
Oh yeah, I love John Boyega, man. He's dope to me.
Yeah, he's fine.
Also, I'm saving my favorite thing for last. I'm gonna skip over that one, but Armor Wars also has been it's not really announced. It was already announced. They've really been dropping teaser stuff for these things and dropping their actual logos. Echo as well. Interesting thing. I don't know if you know this, but the character that plays Echo, she's actually mute in real life. I was not aware of that until they brought her on stage and she was talking and she had her interpreter talking before she was signing. I'm like, that's dope on their part to get somebody that really fits that role. Exactly, like she knows what it feels like and knows what it's like to be in that. Again, she can portray stuff really realistically. I feel like
she's deaf in real life, right?
Is she deaf? I thought she was just mute. I wasn't sure which one.
I think she's deaf. and then
No, Echo. The character's mute. I didn't know if that character is mute. She heard the actor in real life was mute as well. She was deaf, but
but yeah, I know she did have a real life. The actor had a real life disability.
Yeah,
she was dealing with. I thought she was, because in the show also it shows her talking to Hawkeye, who's dealing with hearing loss, and she's like, "Oh, I can relate to you because I deal with that myself." So I thought the real life actor was deaf also based off of that, but I could
possibly. I know that also Vincent D'Onofrio is going to be a big part of her show, as well as Daredevil Born Again. So
right, which we'll get into that too. That's so I really I don't know, is Stephen DeKnight fully back on board for this? Because Stephen DeKnight was the guy who made the original one on Netflix. Is he back for this?
I'm not seeing. The only thing I've seen announced for it so far is, like, again, obviously the main actors that are going to be in it. It's going to be made up of 18 episodes, and if they're starting to start filming this upcoming year, 2023.
Yes. That's what happens when Otis isn't here. Dev and I are scrambling to look up everything without Otis knowing anything off the top of his brain. But 18 episodes. That's you mentioned that before.
I'm litty.
I'm like,
lit.
The problem is, the longer a series goes, the more potential they have for it to have filler or make mistakes, or to be, so.
For me, it also gives room for redemption as well. So you can have a bad episode and make up for that with like 2 more Heat episodes. Yeah. I'm excited, man. Just when it comes to the actual shows, right, from back in the day, when it comes to the Netflix shows, I think one of the stronger suits is that they were longer seasons, and it gave them time to flush out a character, at least attempt to flush out a character, to have some build up to certain events. Like me, I recently went back and rewatched all of Daredevil and all of the Defenders, and I was like, damn, this is really good content. I really hope we continue to have this content come back in the future, which I'm excited to see. So with Daredevil Born Again, which I'm excited to see what that is.
I think were they 10 episodes a season, or how long were they?
They were like 10, 12, around there.
Yeah, 10 or 12. Okay. Yeah.
I think Defenders is a little bit shorter. Also,
the question here right quick from Mr. Crowley. Thoughts on people wanting Magneto to be black? I myself am against, as WW2 is a big part of his origin. So I'll let you go first then, Dev. And thanks for the question, Mr. Crowley.
Yeah, good to see new faces, man. Thank you for sure.
Yes.
When it comes to my philosophy on race changing of characters, my thing is, as long as that character's ethnicity, race, or culture is not tied into their origin story, then you can change them. With him, because Magneto's, again, like, his whole motivation as a child is that he went through World War II and went through Germany and went through all that crazy stuff.
Went to the Holocaust. He survived the Holocaust.
I don't really see changing his race being something that they should do, since his origin is tied within that. Also, as well, like, for me, like, when they changed Johnny Storm back in the day with Michael B. Jordan, and people had an outrage, I didn't care, because, like, his race never meant anything with the character. He was just plucky, exciting kid that can light on fire. Like, we can get anyone of any ethnicity or culture to play that one.
Right.
That's my standpoint.
That's fair. Yeah, it didn't make that much of a difference with Johnny Storm. And thanks again, Mr. Crowley. Mr. Crowley chimed in saying that it would be 18 episodes to confirm what you were saying, Dev. Yeah. So the way I feel about race bending as it's referred, if it's a character where, like you said, if the race doesn't matter, for the most part, I'm with it. I would rather actually have new and original characters that are whatever race they need to be, or what have you, as opposed to just slapping a different coat of paint on somebody, especially if their race or their background is somehow tied into part of, like, if you try to do a race bend, the Black Panther, make him a Hasidic Jew, like, what is going on here?
Right.
Like they did with Perry White in Man of Steel, where they made him Lawrence Fishburne. It's complete. No one cares. It's irrelevant. But I don't want it to be a case where we're talking about John Boyega with the Black Cyclops. It's like I don't want it to be a situation where we're just changing the race of established characters to another race and just saying, here you go, we're appeasing the blurred culture or whatnot by doing this. Like, why don't we actually have unique and original characters? Like Miles Morales is a good example of, as opposed to just putting a black coat of paint on a Spider-Man, they made an original Spider-Man that was black. I'd rather have that. I know that's a taller order, but that's what I prefer.
Yeah, and now if we can get more because again, it's not like Marvel has a starving sense when it comes to other ethnic characters and in culture. Like there's a plethora of different characters and people they can draw on from different cultures and backgrounds and things of that nature. So bring those in if you can. If you can't write them in, then I'm not against, like with Cyclops, I don't care about him being race changed because it never was indicative of his backstory to me. Right. At least from my knowledge of the character, so it is what it is. And Boyega is a good actor to me, so I wouldn't mind him. But as long as the people you're changing, like my thing is, if you're gonna race change the character, it better be because they are the best possible actor for that role that you saw that auditioned. That's it. If not, then I don't do it, because at that point you're just clickbaiting.
What's funny about it too, we'll go ahead and answer this. Mr. Crowley says, "I'm worried it's going to happen because Disney has started doing all of the fan cast, and people want Giancarlo Esposito to play him." So I'd heard about that, about Giancarlo Esposito playing Magneto. For those who don't know, Giancarlo Esposito was essentially one of the biggest bad guys. He was Gustavo Fring in Breaking Bad. He's a very well beloved character.
The leader in The Boys too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Gustavo Fring and Giancarlo Esposito is actually, what is he? Is he Cuban?
Is he? I thought he was he's half black. He's mixed with something. Like he's really race.
He has Latin roots though too. It's not just he's not just black, but
obviously with the name,
but it's but so that is an interesting point. Then, if they were to cast Giancarlo Esposito, the established canon, like film canon, especially of Magneto, would change. I don't know if there are any, Latinx people in the Holocaust. It'd be different. He'd have to have a whole different background to help justify why he is what he is, essentially. So it would change. It would change his story.
See, I've heard the contrary. I've heard them having him as playing like characters like Doctor Doom, or I think Mephisto's been alluded to, which I would personally love that. I feel like he fits the role of the devil, quote unquote.
Perfect. Yeah.
I think like him, Henry Cavill, Seth Rogen, they've been like, these are characters that have been announced that like Marvel's courting to try to get them to do something, but they've been like, because there's a speculation, people are just throwing ideas of characters off the wall based on who they fit. Again, I've heard Anthony Starr playing Dracula. I've heard Henry Cavill playing Hyperion or Doctor Doom.
Wait, so Anthony Starr wasn't confirmed to play Dracula? I thought he was in the Blade movie.
It was hinted at, but I don't think it was 100% confirmed yet. I don't think. It'll probably happen though, hopefully.
It'll probably. I would like that.
That'd be sick. That would be so sick. Him and Mahershala Ali. Oh man.
Homelander versus Mahershala. Yeah, that'd be great.
Just top-notch acting at that on scene. Moving forward to other properties, also Captain America: New World Order is coming. I'm excited for this for the sole reason it seems like Marvel's on cleanup duty, where they're going back to all the old properties that people hated, and they're bringing those characters back to kind of reinvent themselves when it comes to Emil Blonsky from the 2008 Hulk movie. And they're doing the same thing. I don't know if it's the same exact actor, but they're bringing back the character of the leader. I think Samuel Stern, I think is his name.
I don't know the leader's I can't remember what the leader's name is. He appeared in that Hulk movie, the same one that Blonsky's in. And they don't confirm that it's necessarily the leader, but it's heavily alluded to that once that blood drops on him, that's going to turn into the leader. Essentially, his head like started to expand or whatever else on the ground. Yeah, so I'm guessing it'll be the same person too. Tim Blake Nelson's the actor, so if it's him showing up, it's like, okay, that's clearly the leader. Yeah, Mr. Crowley said it's the same. Yeah, so I'm excited to see that they're doing the cleanup crew thing, and they're bringing back all these dope characters. I've also seen, like, I think New Rockstars dropped a video recently in which they alluded to the most recent episode of She-Hulk. She-Hulk went on this date with a guy named Todd, and apparently in the credits initially they messed up and had Hulk Todd as a name, so people are speculating that'll be Samuel Stern's brother, Philip Stearns, which is, I think, the character Madman is the character's name. Which would be cool if they because nobody thinks She-Hulk's tying into anything, so they did that and tied that into like New World Order, and then maybe bring her in for that movie slightly, or I don't know. The MCU's doing a great job of like keeping people in suspense at what's going to possibly happen. Right. And this is something I told Deb and Otis off mic last week, how I met someone that works at Marvel, and I won't say her name, but she just said basically that to pay attention to things that are on the screen, to credits, to computer screens, because they're important. So
also a big thing with that is, again, I think She-Hulk, New World Order, and Thunderbolts are all going to tie in together for this key reason here. The Thunderbolts, the show has been announced, and obviously they're bringing in Florence Pugh, Yelova, Yelena's coming in that one.
Black Widow, yeah.
Yeah, Yelena, Ghost from the other Ant-Man movie, which I'm really happy they're doing something with her finally because
great.
She was a dope character, and they kind of wasted her on that movie. I felt like Taskmaster is making a return for this. Red Guardian, and
the thing about it is so Taskmaster, because Taskmaster, we saw that in that Black Widow movie, basically gets her brain back. So what Taskmaster, are we getting that same Taskmaster from the movie, or is it a different Taskmaster?
I think this will be more closer to the character of Taskmaster. Obviously from the comic, but obviously he's not a man, but in the sense of he would kind of just I think she'll maybe just be more of a mercenary, if anything else.
At least. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I think that was the really rough thing is that they made her like a robot, and I was like, I need the personality there.
It was almost the same thing as having Deadpool be mute in Wolverine. Part of the biggest part of Taskmaster is his charm, as he talks all the trash all the time. Anyway.
Mr. Crowley says he hates Taskmaster in MCU. I can see why.
The version they made, especially, that wasn't him at all, or that wasn't the character at all. Yeah,
I think they like with Taskmaster, characters like Taskmaster, Shang-Chi, those are being like the top-notch martial artists within Marvel itself. I think she has potential because I know there are some arcs where like people just hire Taskmaster to train their troops or assassinate people. I think she could be a really dope character. And the original Taskmaster doesn't have any powers. Like all his powers are a mental thing. He has photographic memory. I don't know if it's photographic memory, but it's a mutant.
It's a mutant power. He's able to remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a superhuman. If I can remember correctly, he's just really skilled when it comes to fighting in that sense that he can copy people's fighting styles. Yeah. So I don't think which to me I think makes her even better. Where the fact that she's just skilled and how do you like her and Yelena could probably have some back and forths. Things of that nature, maybe really dope. Maybe them. I love to see like training arcs. They keep them like a fan, like Suicide Squad kind of
right.
Sense.
No, okay, yeah. So you're saying if they make it like a Thunderbolts, kind of like a similar, the Thunderbolts equivalent to the Suicide Squad, it'd be interesting. But the version they had in the MCU in that movie wasn't at all like that. It was based off the suit or something or computer chip or whatever. It was a very different beast. Yeah.
And then getting into I don't know if you've read any of the Thunderbolts comics. But I know the only one that I remember off the top of my head, is when it comes to the team composition, it was the Red Hulk, Agent Venom, which was what was his guy's name? Was Peter Parker's bullet.
Brock was Flash Thompson.
Eddie Brock.
Flash
Thompson. Flash Thompson, Agent Venom, the Punisher. So that'd be something cool. Maybe we get that at some point. That'd be a good way to bring him in. And Elektra. So for me, looking at the shows and things that have been announced, you have Elektra, who's a big part of the Daredevil stuff, which she may make a return there. The Red Hulk, which I don't know if they may do that anymore because of the original actor passed away recently. So maybe they planned for that. Maybe they switched that up last minute. That would have been really nice to see. And I doubt I don't think they'll recast him. Maybe they will. I don't know if they said anything about him being dead in that universe yet.
They did not. That was. I feel like I do remember them talking or teasing a Red Hulk before. His name was William Hurt, right? That's the actor. Before he passed, so it almost seemed that they had planned on putting him in a Thunderbolts movie or something like that. But then he passed away. So I don't know if they're going to do that. That is the lineup of the Thunderbolts I'm familiar with as well. There's another character too. I can't remember, but that would be because of the already established lore of the MCU/TVU. Now it could have John Bernthal. I know Elektra is like in a coffin. She's not dead, but she's like in a coffin or something with a hand. She can capacity for that. They could find another way to have if they almost bypass showing William Hurt or Ross turning into the Red Hulk, just have the Red Hulk just show up. Essentially, they could kind of get passed around. They get around that. They could find a way to do that. They're clearly teeing up the Thunderbolts. So they have a show planned for it. So
they also have U.S. agents also member of this team
in there too.
So I could see them like killing off some of these characters, or maybe like have them go their own separate ways by the end of the first season, and then have the ability to bring in people like Elektra and things of that nature. I think they're going to use the Thunderbolts like the Suicide Squad and kind of just have villains that are maybe not anti-heroes, or just kind of like in between, like throwing them on this team throughout and kind of just have them replace people in and out,
right? Or to do jobs that are essentially you could die doing. So again, Mr. Crowley has a question. I don't think T'Challa should.
He missed his first one. He has one right before that one regarding like.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Sorry, you made them. Yeah. Do you guys think T'Challa should be recast? I believe they should recast him, as Chadwick Boseman even said he wanted to be recast. And that question, that thing in itself is a very loaded. To recast T'Challa, it's not out of the question because obviously it's a character. It is a character in the show and in the big scheme of things for the Marvel universe. But because Boseman's impact was so monumental, it's like they've almost become one and the same. And to fans and to our world, people watching it, it would almost seem like a slight against it. You kind of can't recast T'Challa. You can recast a Black Panther, but not that character. T'Challa is almost, you got to go like retiring a jersey. You got to retire.
Yeah, that's what I see that as well. I think you could, but I don't. I think it'd be kind of doing it in maybe not an injustice so much, but it wouldn't fit right with me or sit right with me them doing that, especially when there's so many different instances of different people taking on the mantle of Black Panther in the comics, and then different versions of the Black Panther with Shuri, which I honestly believe now that they're going to be doing either. Which again, I have my theory of them bringing back Michael B. Jordan. I think that's a possibility, or them just passing the mantle on to Shuri, which it seems like they're more likely to do because they brought her on stage. Like during the Disney Expo, they made sure they brought her on stage. M'Baku's character. Oh my God, we talked about him a lot recently.
Duke's character. They did not bring Michael B. Jordan on there. There was no Michael B. Jordan.
Brought Angela Bassett on. Well, if they brought him on there, it kind of be.
I know. So. Yeah, that'd be that's a spoiler if they did.
Side note, Angela Bassett, bro, she does not age. Jesus Christ, that woman looks amazing.
I feel like she must like live at the gym because she looks the same today as she did when she made Tina Turner's movie in the 90s.
Bro, her and Pharrell are vampires. I'm convinced because they don't age. I'm convinced. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with that one. Fun fact, I found out recently about the character that's playing Namor, the actor. Apparently, he did not know how to swim before they filmed this movie.
I saw that too.
I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
that is hilarious.
So Crowley was saying though. So here's something that he's saying about, because he was saying that Crowley said, I don't think T'Challa should die with Boseman. Interesting point. And then he also says this, because they are writing him out of the comics now as well, which I did not know. I did not know they were writing T'Challa out of the Black Panther comic books.
I haven't been keeping up with his recent run. Funny enough, the only recent run I've kept up with so far has been the Daredevil stuff with, I think I showed you the comic I got when I was in Savannah, with the Elektra being Daredevil and all that stuff. But interesting, which I think that's the main sign of him not being recast, just for the fact that they've been for a while now. They've been pairing the comics along with the shows and the movies.
Even the video games, they had that Tom Holland looked like Spider-Man in that recent game. Mm-hmm. So they're pretty much eliminating his character from the comic book line. Some of they're saying T'Challa has been put to rest, essentially.
Yeah. Mr. Crowley said he was at D23. Mr. Crowley, hey, we have the link in the chat here on YouTube. If you want to come up and tell us your experience at D23, we would love for you to hear from you for a second.
Exactly.
Yeah, you were there, so
you know more than we do.
But to answer your question, he said he wasn't. Never mind. He said he wasn't there. But even then, if you still want to come up, you can come up. But yeah, I saw on YouTube, you can go find it, where it was like pretty much highlight clips of the whole thing. And they had like each time they would bring each show out, they would bring the actors or the main cast from that show out. Yes, they did bring out the actors from Black Panther. They brought out Angela Bassett, Letitia Wright, and I do not know his name. Winston Duke, and the main actor that plays Namor. I do not remember off the top of my head. But moving on to the last two things of Marvel related, or just in general, are the Marvels. So I am really excited about these last two things. This one, especially because I'm a big fan of Nia DaCosta. For anyone that doesn't know, Nia DaCosta is a woman. She directed the recent Candyman film that came out recently. And she's starting to get a lot more run when it comes to directing. I love how she directs, and I love the things that she's done so far. And I think a film like this, where it's predominantly women characters and them having a woman that's shown that she can direct well, I think will probably kill a lot of the issues that people had with the original Captain Marvel movie, because obviously people don't like Brie Larson and that movie for how much propaganda it was kind of pushing when it came out, in a sense. Yeah. But I think this one will kill that, nip that in the bud, because you have three women that are from vastly different backgrounds, written by this one woman who does extremely well at directing, that I feel like I'm a big fan of her stuff. I'm excited to see what this is and see where it goes.
I am too. I mean, I'm going to see it regardless. And also, Mr. Crowley, welcome to come in anytime, but welcome to come in anytime.
For sure.
I am with you. I'm right there with you. I think we talked about this before one time, Dev, how the way Brie Larson was directed by the Russo brothers in the Infinity War and even Endgame, even though it's a smaller role she has in those, or it's not even in Infinity War, it just in Endgame. I think was better. She seemed like a much better character there than she did in her own movie. So I'm not writing, and obviously Brie Larson's a great actress. She has an Oscar for a reason. I'm not writing her off. I think it was a weird scenario. I feel like she may have come in with a chip on her shoulder, and the movie was written with propaganda in mind, and it was kind of a weird thing altogether. I think now they're coming in with more of a clean slate and trying to just tell a better story or a better movie. And I agree that Costa is the right choice for this. So yeah, I'm on board with it too.
All right. Before we get into the last and my favorite thing that's been announced, Mr. Crowley, if you want to come up, I'll put the link to this to the StreamYard in the top. It's pinned to the top of the comments in the YouTube. So just click on that link and it'll bring you in here, and we'll bring you up once we get through with this last little topic. Secret Invasion.
Woo!
So this is going to be a Sam Jackson led show, and you already know that's all I needed to watch.
Or Nick Fury, or the character Nick Fury, but
him too. But Sam Jackson, this is more nostalgic for me for whatever reason. Sam Jackson to me really reminds me of my grandfather in a lot of ways. The people, if you watched on our channel, I have the most recent video essay I put up was about the Django movie and why it's my favorite movie. And a lot of reasons why that movie is because me and my grandpa watched it. And me and my grandpa also watch a lot of Sam Jackson. And I'm starting to like, the more I see Sam Jackson as he's getting older, he looks and reminds me of my grandfather. Like they get that old white beard and like their attitudes and their mannerisms. You talked about that. We had a discussion on PlayStation when we were playing Destiny one night as far as Sam Jackson and his serious portrayals and roles of that nature. Yeah, I think this will be the key one because the way this seems, it seems like Sam Jackson is gritty, like he's kind of a pessimistic. And they dropped the trailer for it. So if you guys haven't seen the trailer, do yourself a favor, go watch the trailer. I want to react to it. I may just throw a video up. We don't have to react to it. We can just do it honestly and just throw it up.
But we can react to it. Anyway.
It's sick. This is probably the thing I'm most excited for because it's going to be a spy espionage pretty much type of movie. And the thing that makes it really interesting is that the Skrulls are the main, I guess,
antagonist of sorts.
Antagonist and plot point, I guess, like the main trope, plot device. And it's interesting because again, they have the ability to shapeshift. So now you're going into like a spy thriller where anybody cannot be who they seem. Cannot be who they seem.
Worst case scenario for a spy world, yeah. If they're
right.
all, yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying it's gonna be perfect. Sam Jackson seems like he's at the top of his damn game. Don Cheadle seems like he's doing pretty well as far as this goes as well. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see where this goes. I think Sword is going to be introduced within this as well, which is kind of like S.H.I.E.L.D. but in space, and they monitor space more so.
Yeah, real quick. So they clearly alluded to Secret Invasion or Sword in spoiler alert, the last episode, not the last, the episode before last, episode 3 of She-Hulk, where Hulk's being taken off, by them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but real quick, I'll just say I'm right there with you. This and the Star Wars Tales of the Jedi are my two favorite trailers from this entire thing. My favorite movie in the MCU is and always will be Winter Soldier. That's the movie that actually made me really, that's the film that actually got me really excited about the MCU back in the day. Because it was a spy thriller that was really well directed and seeing the action seemed intense and legit. This seems like this looks like it's taken right from that exact same universe, essentially. I know it has aliens and fantastical elements, but it's very much a hardcore spy thriller where you don't know who you can trust. My favorite scene from the trailer actually happens where I believe it's where Sam Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn are having a conversation and look around the room, and literally everyone in the room is the same person looking at them. The Skrulls can multiply. Essentially, they're all Skrulls, and they all made them to look like the same person, essentially. But to just show that the horror of being in a world where you can't trust anybody. And Sam Jackson, I agree, he is showing a lot of pathos as a dramatic actor in this trailer. He clearly, the way that him and Maria Hill are talking to each other looks fantastic as well. Mr.
Crowley here. Give me a second to get his camera and stuff together. But yes, I'm really excited. I'm excited to see what big names in the MCU they reveal as being scrolls, because I think it's going to be a thing kind of like the original Secret Wars, where they're going to be characters that have been around for so long that are going to try to be scrolls that you never would have thought were scrolls. So then ask the questions of where are they? What have they been doing? Da, 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 da. Do they actually know people? I think the big one in the comics was Elektra was a scroll, and she had been around forever, and the real Elektra was off somewhere else.
And then also scrolls, the way scrolls can actually kind of adapt, they can learn and adapt abilities to fight with too, so they can. But let's see, is Crowley? I know he's trying to come in here.
Yeah, try closing out of the tab altogether and then join back in to see if that helps it out.
We're gonna try to get him in here before. Sorry, we're still figuring this technology out ourselves, but we're trying to get you in here though.
But I'm excited, man. I'm excited again. Samuel Jackson is that dude, and I can't think of, has he ever had like a star leading series that he's had, or he's led it like in a series?
You know what's funny? He's been around forever. But usually he's on film. He does films. He's not on small screen. So I don't know if he had a long star leading series. It'd be a mini series. It wouldn't be like because he's movies too much. But I don't know. I am excited. There's that closing shot where he's standing there like in the dark room. He has that beard, that full man beard. That's tight. So let's see here. Any luck with our bud?
We are not getting. Apparently, you can't connect.
It's still glitched. Maybe the link.
I'm gonna drop another fresh link into the chat, but it should be fine. Try going to your settings. He said it's on his end.
So he's on his end. Okay, so we can't. Okay, then leave it as is, Dev, and we have some more time. We're not dipping out yet, but so we'll stall until we can get you on here.
Yeah, if you can try to fix it, do what you can, and we'll try to get you up on there as soon as possible.
So one other thing we got to do, of course, is an old school game. We played it last week with our guest, and I wanted to play it this week with Mr. Diesel himself. I'm guessing it's still in here, right?
Yeah, it's at the top. I'll play it. I got it.
You got it? Yes. Maybe some of this, maybe some of that. It's either or, baby. All right. So this week, we're going to try playing. And if we can get Mr. Crowley in here. Oh, no. His webcam is broke.
His mic should work. Okay. We can get him up here.
If we can hear his voice, that'll work too, actually.
Yeah. If you can get your mic connected, we should allow you just to come up here with just your mic on.
Yeah. We have no problem with that.
Yeah. That works fine too.
Yeah. While we wait for Mr. Crowley to come in, I'm going to pose a question to Mr. C Diesel, aka C Segway himself.
C Segway, that's nasty, bro. That's so nasty. Go ahead, my bad, bro.
If you had the choice, now you know these things, these codes, these creeds, as you will, very, very well. Would you rather be beholden to the creed of the assassins? What's it called? What's their code called?
The hidden ones, pretty much they don't have. It's the creed, pretty much. Is
that creed, but also that lifestyle. Like you had to be pretty much on the underground all the time. You had to be pursued by everyone that's ever been to a Vatican, all that kind of stuff. Or would you rather be beholden to the Jedi code, where you are basically supposed to be celibate, supposed to be very much like the Zen state of mind, where you are wearing robes all the time, that kind of stuff. Which code would you rather be beholden to? And you got to show your work.
So for me, running down each code, I first and foremost for sure would pick the Assassin's Creed. It would be the one I would follow. When you analyze the building up of the creed, it pretty much all it is do not compromise the Brotherhood. So pretty much don't reveal the secrets, don't make us known to the world, don't kill the innocent. So just again, when you're doing your thing, don't kill innocent people. And that's pretty much like there's other one in there. I can't remember exactly, but those are pretty much the biggest two things that if there's ever been an issue within the games and the movies as far as people rebelling, it's been those two things. I can live by that because you look at Exio, where Exio had a long life, pretty much. If you've seen Assassin's Creed Embers, for anybody that's seen that, it's a big fan. You've probably seen it. It showed like the end of his life. He, after killing and doing all his assassin stuff, when he was like, I think he's 60, 70. Got married again, had a kid, lived a cool, chill life in Italy still at the end of his life. And he was just like a grandmaster, just taught people how to do stuff. I'd rather do that than have to be celibate, devoid of emotion, and have to be calm and zen all the time as a Jedi. It'd be cool because I have all that power.
Yeah.
But Jesus, like the fact I have to be a Zen master 24/7, it'd be annoying. Plus, the celibacy is kind of trash, bro. I ain't gonna let me keep it above with you.
The celibacy, although it seems bizarrely optional, like it's confirmed that
it ain't optional. Just the one person that broke it murdered everybody.
I think. I mean, isn't it strongly implied that Obi-Wan broke it too with old girl?
With Satele, like he had feelings for her, but they never, they never confirmed it happened.
It's not confirmed. He got down with her. Okay,
right?
But yeah, I feel you. I think, man. The thing about it is with the assassins, like you are hunted, like you are hunted down. There's no prestige with that. Like you have to live in the shadows, and each job you do could be your last one. It's pretty much like being like James Bond. Like James Bond made it to the ripe old age of like 40, and then he died. I mean, spoiler alert, he had a kid and everything, but he died. He got in the last movie. I feel like it's kind of similar to that with the Assassin's Creed. Like you may make it out of that alliance, out of that Illuminati of sorts, but it's unlikely. It's very unlikely. So I'd probably go Jedi, man.
Oh, yeah,
it's gonna suck, but you still get to fight cats.
Before we bring Mr. Crowley up, last point. So not necessarily, you don't have to be in hiding, because if you look at the game, their predominant figures like Machiavelli was an assassin, was a big person in the Brotherhood. They have they're big public figures that are assassins, but you don't know they're assassins. The only thing you have to keep secret is the fact that you are an assassin. Because even in the second game where Exio's father was a politician and was a big, well-known person, but nobody knew he was an assassin on the side. So you can be popular, you can live a regular life. It's just don't let people. Exio was more so different because he let everybody know who he was and was like doing wild shit. But
yeah, no, I feel you, because that's the thing though, is you are knowingly signing up for a double life. And then anytime you have a double life, it's a slip up here or there, you're done. Jedi is you're allowed to pretty much be out flaunting that you're a Jedi. I mean, let's go back to the Old Republic era. You're able to flaunt that you're a Jedi and get prestige for that. There's no prestige for being an assassin. And also, if anyone finds out who you are, you're going to be at best arrested and put in chains forever. If not killed in the streets.
Depending, because not everybody knows what the assassin. Because nobody knows what the order is. Nobody knows what the assassin is.
No. More. I mean, obviously, there's plenty that don't. But it's just a different lifestyle. I mean, I would go Jedi. I mean, it would suck being celibate, but if you know, I mean, obviously that not all of them were, but I would go Jedi. The power to literally use a lightsaber, man. That alone.
I'm just low key.
Can you imagine, Dev, if there was a lightsaber in real life? What would happen to the world if someone actually had a lightsaber in reality? It would destroy one lightsaber could destroy the world, man. One,
maybe, depending on how good you are with it. Because the thing is, it's weightless, so it's like if you don't know how to maneuver it, you can mess around and cut your leg off by accident.
We would.
With assassin, I'm a low key person in general. So my biggest thing is I just have to make sure that I don't blast that I'm an assassin in public and just keep it low key. I can do that. Okay. But let's go ahead and bring Mr. Crowley up.
Yeah, we got him.
Is his mic? Can we unmute his mic? I think you get your mic muted, Mr. Crowley. Whenever you can get your mic unmuted, we can
I can unmute it. Yeah.
Well, you can try. I already tried it. He has to mute it on his end.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wants to talk about his top 3 Marvel villains, I believe, or villains that could possibly be the big. So for me, my big 3 possibilities are probably going to be Kang. Obviously, that's kind of already a given. I'm hoping for Noah the Symbiote God. They've kind of been alluding to him through different stuff from the multiverse madness from No Way Home. And then the Venom stuff coming in. I'm hoping we get that because Nola Symbiote God would be broken and be sick. Well.
You had to.
Oh, we got him. There we go.
I was in the kitchen.
Are you good? How you?
Oh shoot.
There you go. You hear us, Mr. Crowley?
What was I missing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What was I saying? The Marvels thing I was talking about?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so the 3 villains that I have in mind. So obviously the obvious one is Rogue.
Ooh, Rogue. That'd be nice. That'd be sick. Because if you play into her taking Captain Marvel, that'd be dope.
Annihilus.
Okay. I can see that. I can see that too.
What's his name again? No, her name.
Who's the third person you said?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Okay. Annihilus and Rogue aren't two bad options though. I like that. That'd be cool. You can bring in X-Men with that.
I can't remember who it was going to say, but like the Shi'ar Empire.
Yeah, I can see that too. So you're thinking they're going to do a lot of X-Men because those three characters, I think outside of Annihilus, are like exclusively X-Men characters or villains. So do you think they're going to introduce X-Men in this in the Marvels?
Well, because Miss Marvel already set up mutants.
True, that is true. You're not wrong there. That could be dope. That could be sick. I wouldn't be mad at that. That's the thing. I don't have they announced anything regarding the actual plot of the movie yet. I think all they've shown is like Monica Rambeau and Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, like getting transported or trading places with Kamala Khan. I don't think they've said anything about plot.
They just said it was a woman, so I think Annihilus is well, they could gender swap Annihilus.
They could do that too. That'd be sick. I'm excited, man. Do you have anything else you wanted to ask about or talk about while you're up here?
Fan casts for Gambit.
Ooh, do you have anybody in mind?
I was going to say, I don't know. I really don't think Channing Tatum should play him. Like, I know he's been wanting it for years, but
He's been one. Has he been campaigning for that?
he's been wanting to play Gambit for years, but I think he's a bit too old for Gambit.
That's for sure. Plus, I think he's a little too goofy for me. Like, I know Gambit's a funny character and kind of happy-go-lucky, but Channing Tatum just seems too wild.
Accent as well. I doubt it.
Oh, that'd be so bad. Him trying to do a Cajun accent would be so nasty. Ooh, oh my god.
Because I think they'd end up doing what they done with the Scarlet Witch, just drop the accent.
Honestly, but I feel like with Gambit, like that accent's so like such a big part of like his identity.
Oh,
like
the X-Men movies dropped that as well.
Mm-hmm. That's tough. That's so tough. I can't. Who do I think would play a good job at playing Gambit? I didn't hate the guy that played him in the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie. I thought he was a pretty good Gambit to me, but he's probably too old by now. That movie came out a long time ago.
Taylor Kish, yeah, they wouldn't get him again.
Yeah.
Trying to think who would be a good Gambit.
Because I'm just like, that accent is a big thing for me. And I'm like, who do I think could play like one that looks the part and would sound the part with the accent that doesn't sound too terrible?
You could just go no name. I mean, the MCU, obviously, like Thor, Chris Hemsworth, no one knew who he was before. Tom Holland, no one really knew who he was. I would just go ahead and go no name. Make sure you get a really good actor. And just odds are, if they can't do a French accent or a Creole accent, teach it to them. Obviously, Chadwick Boseman learned that accent for that Wakandan accent for the role. So
he was good at impressions in general, though, because he had already done the him sounding like James Brown's already like a tough thing, and he did that pretty well.
Yes. And he had a lot of theater training, but I mean, I think a good actor, you can teach a good actor just about anything.
So they
can learn just about anything. So
funny enough, I watched when they brought up Echo on stage to talk about her. Apparently, this is only her first major film, like her first major lead role in something, and she's already like, dang, your first or second one, you're already killing it like this. Like, congratulations.
Yeah, she was good. She was a natural. I mean, she did mostly what she did was she was able to do the physical stuff, and then she learned how to do enough of the actual portray like a character. She learned that stuff.
In my opinion, the films could either make the character worse or better, because in the comics, I despise Deadpool, but I like Ryan Reynolds' interpretation.
Really, you despise him in the comics?
Only comics I like are Kill the Marvel Universe.
That was my favorite one. That was one of the only Deadpool comics I bought, and I really enjoyed that story.
It's like, in a way, it just invades other comics. Like Gwenpool, I enjoyed her, but then she just became a female Deadpool, and then I'm like,
yeah,
not for me.
Fair enough. I thought there's a whole arc where he like got a wife, which was like his wife. Deadpool's wife was like the queen of the underworld, pretty much, and she was like supposed to be married to Dracula at some point, but he like stole her from Dracula, I guess.
Was it not Mistress Death he married?
It wasn't Mistress Death. It was, I can't remember her name in particular, but she was like the queen of the underworld. She wasn't dead herself, but she was like some ancient demon type. You dig?
Like, I've just finished reading the Infinity Gauntlet. Well, not just, I finished it like a month ago, but I've been I was reading through the Infinity War. I'm looking at issue 3. Because it ties in with Infinity Watch. I'm just like, I don't know this.
Fair enough.
graphic novels, it annoys me when. So I'm grateful Infinity includes the non-Infinity stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but Avengers versus X-Men, I just had to like think. The mutants being gone, is that House at M or is that Black Bolt?
Man, I'm not the biggest Black Bolt fan myself, but I'm just it is what it is, I guess. Oh, I forgot. This makes me think about it. Deadpool is on the Thunderbolts as well in the comics. So I don't know when they're bringing him in or if they bring him in, but they could put him on the Thunderbolts at some point too.
But we're about at a time. But before we go, thanks again, Mr. Crowley, for stopping by. And also, your accent. Are you in Ireland, Scotland?
Aye.
Yeah, that would explain the time difference because the friends that I have over there is late right now as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks again, Mr. Crowley, for stopping by. Feel free to come back again next week too. We'd love to have you on the show again.
Yeah. I'm sorry. What did you say? I can hear what you said.
That's if I'm awake.
For sure. Even if you can't catch us live, we'll have these things pre-recorded, and we have a million other videos. And
it just appeared in my recommended. I was going through like new Rockstar videos, or like I don't even remember. It just like said one viewer, and I'm like, I feel bad.
Oh, you're good, man. Usually our lives, it depends off and on, but we have some pretty good people in here. And again, you included. So again, thank you so much for your time and then for just the support, man. I appreciate it.
That's cool.
No problem, man. For anybody else that's watching, again, if you're watching this live from Twitch, we hope you guys come over to our YouTube, give us that sub. It would be greatly appreciated. We're on the road to 1K. Again, we have all kinds of videos. Again, if you're a comic fan like Mr. Crowley here, we have interviews with some of the best people from the comic industry. My friend here, Ethan Murphy, is oh my God, I can't talk today.
It's okay. It's
a comic creator.
We've been going for almost 2 hours. That's why.
Right. He's a comic creator himself. If you're interested in his own comics, go check him out at echelonGnovels.com. He has his own comics there that he produces from echelonGnovels.com. Along those lines with him, again, comics that you should check out to see coming soon on that platform are Briarlands, a comic that him, as well as my friend, our other co-host, Otis East, has produced with Echelon G Novels. And then me and my friend, I have my own comic coming out with Echelon G Novels called The Son of Shaitan, coming out pretty soon with me, one of my best friends. So again, for comic content, we did a lot of early comic content early on. So we've interviewed chief and editors of Marvel, other comic creators and things of that nature. Again, we would appreciate the support if you're a big comic fan like we are.
And also, if you are a comic enthusiast but wants to actually dip your toes into making your own comic book, feel free to hit us up. We actually help people create comic books, either everything from consulting to actually drawing the books to actually writing the scripts. Any way, any capacity of a comic book, we can help you.
Yeah. Last comment we got here, Leon the King TV says Werewolf by Night looks good. I want to see it. Me as well. We talked about that a little bit earlier, Leon, and we're both excited to see that because it seems dope.
It looks very different. That's the thing. It looks different as opposed to regular stuff.
As a horror fan and a MCU fan, I'm excited. But yes, that guys it's been a great show. Thank you guys for everybody that's been commenting and tuned in and came up from the show. We appreciate you guys. We thank you for your support. We hope for your continued support in any endeavors we do forward, and we will see you guys next week.
Just so, Mr. Crowley, all you gotta do, brother, because we really appreciate you being on the show. All you have to do is go to this website, echelongnovels.com, write a message in there, contact us, send a message saying, hey, I want to make a comic book, or I want to know how to do something, and we'll definitely write you back. I run it myself, so I'll be in contact. Deb and I are both on the site.
Yes. Again, check it out. Again, I'm a prime example. I got a comic made through him. And it's dope. He does dope, great quality stuff, and he helps people get their stuff off the ground. And if you're interested, please do seek him out. But again, this has been another episode of the Then and Now podcast, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.
We miss Otis.